elevator speech. Whether you want to work on relationships or work or family or career or kind of anything about your life that matters to you, we use info from the Black Belt Mind to help you plan your way forward in a way that is consistent and easy and applicable, and a technique we call NAP to help you clear out the crap from the past. So, standard disclaimer, I am a TCM practitioner, and so I have to tell you that changes how I see the world. And also, I am not a real person in your life. I'm just a voice that you don't know who I am, so anything I say is not medical advice. And now let's talk about getting people unstuck. Elevator speech over.
Anything you wish to add?
No, I think I'm just excited about tonight's topic because we've been talking about it a fair bit. So we've been talking about, there's a lot on social media lately about this loneliness epidemic. There's this whole thing apparently going around on social media about 2016 where people are posting about it was so wonderful back then, and now it's just so much harder. And there's all this retro stuff where people are basically talking about craving connection. And the numbers vary when you look at them. Canada has better numbers than the US. The US is reporting about 50% of people are saying they're just really lonely most or all of the time. And Canada's numbers are between like 10 and 25, 10 and 30%. But it's a big deal. And when I started looking into this, because you know me, I have to research all the things, I assumed this was a recent thing, but it is not a recent thing. They actually started, there was a book about it in the 50s talking about how people were feeling more lonely. There was a lack of social spaces. People were in their cars instead of using transit. They were trying to figure out why people were more lonely. But then if you actually look back on it historically, we started getting lonely in the 18th century. So before that, when you look at whatever anybody wrote, you look at Chaucer, you look at anybody, nobody's talking about being lonely. 18th century hits, people are writing odes to loneliness and short stories about loneliness. And some of that is industrial revolution. People went to work in factories. People got lonely. But also, and this ties into what we want to talk about tonight, that's when the romantics, I love the romantics. Like as I mean, I don't know them. They were around a long time ago. But the art, the literature was very cool. But they started talking about being alone and being lonely. And they were saying lonely is a wonderful thing. You get to go out and commune with nature, and isn't that amazing? But also, if you do not have that one soulmate who is going to make you whole and amazing, then you're alone, and that's terrible. And we're still sort of operating on that idea of, well, if you're lonely, if you don't have that one magical person, then you're that kind of horror movie loneliness that, like, oh, you're one of those creepy, sad, lonely people. And you know, fast forward, people are spending more and more time on social media because we all crave this connection. And the more time we spend on our computers, the lonelier we get in a lot of ways. So we as humans are terrible at being lonely. Like, we just don't know what to do with it. We're not built for it. But the sort of modern quick fixes like AI chatbots, those feel to people like, this is amazing. This chatbot knows me really well. They remember what I said yesterday. But it doesn't make people feel any less alone. So tonight we want to talk about alone, loneliness, and connection. How's that for an intro?
Pretty darn good.
Thank you.
I want to hear more.
Back in the old days.
Well, the AI chatbot point is a really powerful and interesting dynamic to look at this whole topic of loneliness and aloneness from. And the idea of connection is a really powerful and important one, and one that I think that is really misunderstood in a lot of ways, because we don't necessarily really even understand what connection actually is and why it's so important to us as human beings. And that we don't really know, because we don't really know what connection is, we don't really know when we're connected or not. And the difficulty with that is that then the metrics of whether we're connected in a valuable and socially acceptable way get determined for us by things outside of our own intuition, by things outside of our own hearts. We have people that are telling us that, oh, well, if you're not doing a specific set of things, if you're not doing them in this specific set of ways, then you're going to be disconnected. And it's kind of a, what do we describe that? It's like a meta problem in the sense of, like, we're kind of in the problem and are the problem at the same time. If we don't understand what it feels like to feel connected and the satisfaction and deep belonging that creates for ourselves, then we're subject to other people's determination of whether we're connected to whatever they say is important in whatever the way that they say is acceptable. Without that sense of our own innate understanding of what it's like to be connected, then when we become disconnected, we're not aware of it. And then the dissatisfaction, the loneliness, the fear of being alone, the malaise that comes with, oh, I must have done something wrong. I must not be good enough somehow. And that whole, somebody had to explain to me the FOMO, fear of missing out dynamic.
He means me, I had to explain.
That is sort of run rampant over the planet, particularly during, the whole COVID experience. Whatever people think of that or thought what that was, or think about what it is now, the effects of that were powerful on people, because we got another really powerful taste of not only the potential damage of isolation, but really in that isolation, we got face to face with the power of disconnection. So now that we're kind of coming out of that phase, that era, that design, unfortunately, with the COVID now technically, quote unquote, behind us, people are trying to return to the things that they thought were connecting them. And we hear it on a daily basis that it's not working so much. It isn't back to business as usual anymore, because even though the parameters of society have sort of now gone back to, quote unquote, what they were before, there's this lingering sense in everyone that there might be more to life that's valuable and useful and necessary, other than just our social routines, to keep us happy, keep us inspired, keep us, even on a daily, moment-to-moment basis, to keep us hopeful. So that's where that idea of connection becomes something that we talk about with people on a daily basis, on the regular, because rich, poor, wants family, no family, people generally feel the same sting of disconnection and don't know how to remedy it.
That topic is huge. So I'm going to weigh in on my 2 cents.
Please do.
That whole pandemic global lockdown BS, sorry, because you can tell what my opinion is, broke us on some level. I like it that you're trying to find the gift in it, because it's part of our evolution, like it or lump it. That happened, and there is no going back to how we were ever. No. Something broke, and and we're all feeling it and doing the same old doesn't work because of that. But it's a call to grow. It's a call to evolve. It's a call to level up. And not too many of us have figured out what the hell that looks like yet.
No kidding. Super well said.
Yeah.
Could do a whole conversation and a whole series of shows on just that piece that you brought up now.
Right.
But I also think here's my fabulous take on astrology, which I know very little about. I view that as sort of a Mercury retrograde kind of thing, because yes, I think something broke, but it was on its way to breaking anyway.
It needed to break.
Yeah, absolutely. It was already fractured.
Yeah. So let's if it's broken, at least we know what needs fixing now.
Yeah, it's funny. Every year I put a little slogan on our banner on News for the Soul. And I fought tooth and nail to come up with something different than I did this year. But it was, what are we going to fix in 2026?
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
They insisted on that one. And
I love that.
right. It's true, though. That's where we're at. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No,
I get excited
awesome.
when you're on.
No, it's awesome. It's great. And and I think because I'm so excited to go in all the directions you just offered, I'm going to try to my best to stay on track. But I mean,
Sorry.
no. Please don't apologize. You just fired up my.
Oh, there you be interesting.
Synapse on a whole bunch of awesome levels. So no, please. I should be I'm thanking you for it. Don't apologize. Because there's a few provable things, regardless of what people think about, COVID-19 and all that it ensued. There are some things that are, if you're being discerning and factual, and you're actually looking in a disciplined way to be truthful about things, it's not a lie that, 3 months into the pandemic, when everybody was sort of trying to figure out what was going on, it's coming out in droves, left, right, and center, that, the powers that be essentially kind of had a handle on things after 3 months. And, okay, that's why, human beings are powerful, beautiful, intelligent beings and creatures. And, we all kind of went, okay, we don't know what's happening. Sure, we got to take some precautions because we don't know what's happening. But, that fracture that we're speaking of really occurred after our intuitive sense of things shifted. And I think that it's coming out now, left, right, and center, where it's not conspiracy, it's admitted fact into the world that, oh yeah, well, we kind of had a handle on things after 3 months, like we kind of isolated what was going on, we kind of figured out what was happening, but we didn't really tell you that for another 2 years.
But in the meantime, you can still line up at Walmart and liquor stores, but God forbid you do anything entertainment-wise, spiritual gatherings, all those are no way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's not, like, let's be real there. And again, this is historical. I can check it, in books and, on the internet, and even in real books on the library shelf that, governments and ruling class powers have pulled dynamics like this in the past, right? And we can name examples, but that's not really that's not an outlandish thing to state. So my point is that it's making me realize and understand and look into the ideas around connection, because I'm like, well, yeah, it's hard to feel connected and like you belong somewhere safe when part of you feels like you're being lied to.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, that's not a conspiratorial and outlandish idea.
No, we were factually being lied to, period.
Well, and that's my point, is that has a big role to do with isolation and disconnection and its debilitating effects on us as human beings. Because we know intuitively and innately that, yeah, we have our squabbles, yeah, we have our differences, yeah, sometimes we clash, we get into these stupid, weird ego battles and all that stuff. But we know intuitively that we as human beings are here to participate with each other. We do better when we're in participation. We do better when we're in dynamic sharing with our fellow human beings. And I think the thread that you both picked up on tonight really beautifully is that, oh yeah, okay, we weren't so good at that even before all that stuff happened. Because we're taught to chase a bunch of other things that aren't that. Because then, if we participate with each other, and all of a sudden we realize that, hey, maybe we aren't so different, actually. And we kind of have the same sort of core values about freedom and sharing and how to treat people and dignity. When human beings are in that state, we're powerful. And when we're connected to others in that state, we're even more powerful.
And they know that.
Absolutely. And they kind of, and the ubiquitous they, because we could do a show just on that. The ubiquitous they kind of have always known about human beings, because small groups of human beings that are participating, shared value, treating each other with dignity, and they're hard to stop. and they're really hard to control. So that's where I think that we're landing back in a place of understanding, when something like the lockdown occurred, people felt like their autonomy was gone, and they were so powerless.
Yeah, because it was.
And absolutely. And where the gift in that is that, where can we find our power again in ways that feel like our conditions externally are telling us that we're powerless? And I think connection is that way home.
Okay.
Yes.
Now here's the thing though. Because I was talking to somebody about this earlier in the week, and one of the things they messaged me afterwards, they said, that's all great, connection's awesome. I can't do social stuff. I'm too anxious and it's too hard.
For sure.
So this ties into the other, like, if there's an epidemic of loneliness, I think there's an epidemic of anxiety.
Oh gosh, of course.
And I heard a breath.
Why are they anxious about connecting?
So I actually hear this from a lot of people where they say, I get it, like, I want to go out, I want to be with people, I want to have that connection, and then I go out and then I feel like I'm doing everything wrong because I don't know how to human anymore. And I get home and then I just kick myself for all the things I said wrong and did wrong.
Oh.
And the anxiety that's there when they go out spikes when they come back. They question everything they did.
Jeez.
And they don't want to go out and do it again.
Well, that's new.
Yeah, and I have a little theory about that. And I think that theory is connected to, what anxiety actually is, right? So anxiety is fear and stress of future events that have not yet occurred. The challenge with that is that when you really want to make someone anxious and fuel their anxiety, you connect them to a past event that has already occurred and keep them afraid of the possibility that something like that event might occur again. And that's how and I'm a bit of a military historian, and when you look at interrogation tactics and prisoner of war tactics and
As one does.
all the different, that's what I feel like everybody should. Very interesting stuff, right? For trying to understand the human heart and the human soul. It's very important to keep whoever you're dealing with in that context of war off balance and anxious. Right? How do you do that? You do that by putting them through a traumatic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do? You then keep the feeling of that traumatic experience alive in their minds and in their hearts and their nervous system. And every once in a while, you kind of surreptitiously and unconsciously point at that traumatic event again as if it might happen in a way that they can't predict or can't control.
Yep.
So, that we're talking about, really, really, really the devastating effects of trauma and the laneway that it creates for shame. So, in my experience, in the work when I'm dealing with people, individuals, and teams, and I do with Colleen, my perspective on connection kind of gets shaped like this. It's like, when do we feel connected to other human beings? Well, when we can participate with them. Okay. What's the hallmark of great participation? Authenticity, vulnerability, and listening. If I convince you that you're not even worth listening to yourself, like you feel so bad about yourself, so shaky, so anxious, so unsure of who you are and what you're here to do, that you don't even really pay attention and listen to your own thoughts and feelings, your ability to go out into the world and do that is always shaky. In many ways, we cannot feel really, truly like we belong in a positive, healthy way through connection with others if we are disconnected and confused about what it feels like to be connected to ourselves. So you gaslight people, you tell them that what they see with their own eyes, what they hear with their own ears, what they feel with their own hands isn't real, that they're wrong about it. And before you know it, you've diminished the power in them, that we consistently refer to as intuition. so badly that they forget how to do it. They forget how to listen to themselves. They lose the value and the connection to their own intuition, what their own heart feels, what their own heart can sense in terms of the resonance and the resistance of this world. And then you scare them out of realizing that that's valuable. They lose it for themselves. They lose it with others. Because we don't have to necessarily be in physical proximity with each other to feel like we're connected. But if we're even afraid to talk from our hearts when we can't see each other through the different means that we've got to do so, then all of a sudden we're in a really, really, really lost and despairing place. I think that's part of what the dynamics are that we're seeing as the fallout of what we've gone through in the last 6 years. That people are like, well, I'm back to quote unquote normal, and I'm out there doing the stuff out in the world that I was normally doing before. It still feels like something's missing.
The world's not normal. I mean, by design, they've created such division. When we want to talk about connection, let's throw politics into the mix. The absolute BS of this side or that side. Like I have seen conscious people go to either side of the spectrum and defend it to death, and cut family off and cut friends off and cut, I mean, divisiveness, literally. Like, now that's what they want. Like, hello, So when you talked about connection, I thought, well, there's the biggest disconnection right there.
Well, I think so much of this comes back to we've been trained, especially in North America, to be in a lose-lose or win-lose mentality. Because when we're talking about anxiety and pick a group, most of us have been taught that we're less than because somebody else is more than.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember even first year university, I was really loving my anthropology class. It was fun. And the prof came over towards the end of the year and said, oh, Colleen, you're doing really well. You must be so proud of yourself. You're in the top 10% of the class, or whatever percentage it was. And I was like, yeah, great. Yeah, I'm thinking of taking class next year. And he said, oh, yeah, I thought you might have been. I was afraid of that. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because unfortunately, I guess nobody told you, women aren't good as anthropologists because there are so many cultures around the world where women are secondary, that you just can't possibly do good work out there because no one will talk to you. So I just wanted to set you straight before you wasted a lot of your time. And coming from the family I came from, where if somebody told you something, they weren't just BSing you for fun, they were telling you the truth. I assumed he was right. And I stepped away, which to a certain extent I'm glad for, because I love the work we're doing and the place that I am right now. But it was that win-lose, right? He was in that place of, no, men win, women lose. Men are better at this, women aren't. And how many groups out there have been taught the same thing? So when we're focused on, okay, but I'm going to win because of this, right? Well, you think women can't do this? Well, here's where guys are stupid too. And then we end up with this, I mean, like you said, with politics, everybody's fighting each other else and everybody else, and nobody can connect because we're too busy trying to win.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah. Well, it makes it, that tactic, which is prevalent in so many eras of history, basically makes us forget how to sense what is true from what is untrue. And as soon as I have to rely upon somebody else to tell me what feels true to me or not, I'm really lost. And then I'm tentative, I'm anxious, I pull away, I pull back. I cannot speak authentically, and I then fall for anything. What's the saying, right? If you don't know what you stand for, you fall for anything. It's amazing, when you brought up your example, Nicole, I've watched it and done my best to participate in this dynamic with some intellectual discipline, but I'll see people take the exact same set of what they're calling facts and argue it on both sides of whatever line that they're dividing things by. And it's amazing to see a person be like, okay, well, here's a set of numbers. It means this, and it means nothing else but this. And then when they get challenged by something that's truthful, when they feel the truth in something, they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Then they'll take those same facts and argue in the exact opposite direction.
Right.
And that is the evidence of what you're talking about that division, that divisiveness, like at its absolute worst.
Mm-hmm.
When we no longer feel like we can trust ourselves towards things that feel true to us. And that's a tough one too, because I think part of the dynamic of, true connection and then its opposite, where we're being shamefully disconnected, gets us stuck in this place where we're like, oh, capital T, truth. I have to be right about everything that I think and say. Whereas what we're talking about in terms of the practical ways it plays out, in people's lives on a daily basis, is what we both call little t truth, right? Just like, well, how do I feel right now? How do I feel in this moment? How do I feel about what I'm participating in? And when we kind of break it down and take all the pressure of being right off of this big ominous thing called capital T truth and get it back into a more personal, breath to breath, moment to moment kind of experience, we realize the vast difference between what's peddled to us as truth and what's actually true. Because truth itself doesn't seek to win or be right. I think it's St. Augustine, a Greek philosopher, that has a beautiful quote that I always should make sure I'm exactly quoting properly, but the idea of it comes back to me all the time. And what it is that he says, truth is like a lion. Set it free and it will take care of itself. Like proof, things that are true don't need us to prove them, in other words. So when we are in a place where we can at least feel like, hey, here's my truth of this. Here's how I feel about it. Here's what I see. Here's what it makes me think. Here's what it makes me scared of. Here's what it makes me love. When we can't share that and be respected and safe enough to share that, because we know, well, if I share it, the people that are listening have an expectation that I'm going to let them share theirs, and then we're just going to have a discussion, and we're just going to find out more and more and more of what feels truer and truer. When that's lost, all of a sudden, we as human beings become very disempowered, very disconnected from source and spirituality, very, very easy to control and manipulate. And then all of a sudden, we have to get into a group that thinks exactly the same way we do about every single thing. And the only acceptance to that group is that we think all the same things at the same time. And we get into that group and we realize that we're surrounded by people and yet still feel profoundly lonely. And I think that has to do with the fact that we are taught to not listen to ourselves and to listen to what feels genuinely inspiring and true to us. And therefore, we've been taught to become afraid of being alone. So you take those two factors, you combine them together, you got a person who's afraid of being alone because they don't want to face the fact that they don't actually know themselves at all because they've been taught to only get defined by the group that they're in. You take that person who's afraid of being alone, you tell them that only way you're going to be accepted in this group is if you look at the capital T truth exactly the way we do, no exception. And if you don't, you're going to get expelled from this group, and then you're going to be alone, which you're terrified of. It's no wonder that people feel so disillusioned and separate and disempowered like they have in the last 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it's by design. I know I'm going very conspiratorial when I'm on the right. But it goes back to what
everything is by design,
right? But it goes back to the original comment you made about that's where our power is in our unity. So what we need now that we've scared the crap out of everybody for half an hour, is a solution-oriented approach, right? So what's the solutions?
I
got a lot to say about this, but
you start.
yeah. One of the things that we operate on, and it's one of the first things that we'll tell people when they engage us, and it's one of the last things we'll say to them oftentimes when we part ways temporarily or for good. And we talked about it. It was so exciting to share this with you in one of our first shows that we did. And people ask me all the time, like, well, what's one thing I can do? And what's, gosh, those are some neat ideas. Man, that feels overwhelming. And there's so much to learn. And but what do I do? And what do I take away and walk away with, until the next time I get to see you and talk to you about this again? And I usually say something along the lines, same spirit, maybe different words, but basically I say, pay attention to how you feel. They're like, wow, why? And I'm like, because that's the most important thing you can do as a human being. Pay attention to how you feel. So that's, if I could distill it down to a simple action, a foundational action to remember to do, as people are navigating through this idea of connection and disconnection, is pay attention to how you feel and treat it like the priority that it is. Because we are born with, I truly believe this, I see it play out on a daily basis. We are born with this immaculate, energetic, emotional, and spiritual compass. We have this beautiful guidance system within us. And it's not that guidance system isn't functioning or it doesn't work. It's that most of the time and most of the things in society have taught us to ignore it. And that's at best, ignore it. At worst, we've been told that it's somehow evil and destructive to actually listen to our internal murmurings, which, is a diminishment of this powerful, beautiful guidance system that we've got. And I think the spirit of why I say pay attention to how you feel is to give people another alternative about how to navigate this place that we're in called this dimension, this planet, this world. To get them reconnected, to get them back in touch with that perfectly designed, right? Everything by design, that perfectly designed, wonderful guidance system that we have called our own energy and our connection to it that shows up through what we typically call our intuition. So I'd say start there.
Yeah, I think most of us have been so trained out of that, though, and that's where it ties into anxiety, that people get anxious about listening to themselves because they don't know if what they're listening to is right or wrong. So I'm going to layer onto that then with a song from the, I don't want to say 60s, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. And it comes back to that old saying, there's only two emotions, love and fear. And if everything else is a subset of one of those two. So the way you know if your emotions are true emotions, are useful emotions, are you feeling love or are you feeling fear? Now, as far as survival goes, anxiety is a fear emotion. It's great for surviving if there is actually something there in front of you, if you are actually being chased by a lion. Most of us are feeling anxiety when we are not being chased by a lion, but it got set off by somebody at work did something, somebody cut me off in traffic, like whatever the fight or flight thing was. And the thoughts that we have, if they're trending towards love or trending towards fear, will tell us when we're finding truth. Like, part of the truth is, the work that we do, and I won't speak for Dana, the work that I do is really weird. Like, it's not normal. And I get more and more excited about it, and it helps me feel more and more loving to people. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't need it to be everybody's cup of tea. But if I can lean into the things more that make it easier for me to love people, even when I don't know them that well, then that is a step towards truth. And that's how we can start lining ourselves up with, oh, but you're not supposed to classical music, because that's not cool anymore. People don't say cool, I'm sure. Cool people don't say cool. Right? You're supposed to like hip hop. But when you can go back to that moment of like that's because it's the nerds out there. Like I love my people. My people are nerds. And if you can get unreasonably excited about something in a loving way, then you're a nerd, which is amazing because it gives you a way to connect. And then you can find that way to tie in to other people. Because even if they aren't the same kind of nerd, we all know what that feels like to be unreasonably excited about something. Remember I was reading that thing a while ago where somebody had posted in a chat room I was in where they had said, my mother gets so upset when I bring people over from my university classes to talk to my brother who was on the spectrum because his thing was X, Y, or Z. So I bring them over to talk to him about that. And my mother got mad at me basically saying, you know, how dare you do that? And these people are coming over to make fun of your brother. And this woman said, no, why would these people research stuff on the internet when they have a walking, talking library who has fact checked all of this? Because that is the thing he is obsessed with and cares about. They're coming here to do their initial research with him. And then they're going to go fact check it later and narrow it down later and use their attributions later. But we all can understand and get a kick out of somebody's mega focus and fascination, I think.
Well, it makes me think of kind of a funny little story that we've shared for a long time now in the work that we do. Very quickly, our office kind of got labeled, and not even by us, but by the people that we started to work with, over a couple decades ago, the island of misfit toys. And it's such a beautiful and whimsical and powerful idea, because if you look at human history and we look at the ways in which, like we just have acknowledged, the powers that be have tried to make sure that we stay disconnected, weakened, and easy to control, the greatest, most powerful, most beautiful and inspirational movements in human history always come first from a small group of people. And that small group of people are often labeled heretics. And it's really interesting, and that's a very, religiously charged word, but being the nerd, and my brand of nerdism is the one that likes to really dig into like language and the etymology of language and the development of language. And the word heretic has a really powerfully interesting derivation. Like the origin of that word, literally, I could go on about it, but it literally means you're a heretic, and the definition of a heretic was literally one who chooses for himself or herself. One who chooses. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Call us heretics.
Right? And the people who are typically, whether that language or culture uses that particular word, every language and culture essentially has a word for that idea, right? And they've used it as a title, a label of shame. So you're a heretic, you're outcast. And then you see people throughout history who've been like, I'm a heretic. Okay.
Cool.
Exactly.
But you know what? That is exactly what we went through with this whole pandemic crap.
Oh my gosh.
Any of us that were doing critical thinking, we're like,
Yeah.
we're bad, we're terrible, we're not doing the right thing, we're idiots, we're conspiracy. What the hell?
Yes.
Using my brain means I'm bad? What?
Yes. That I'm shameful and should be shamed. And it's so awesome because literally, Nicole, you took the word right out of my head, because I was going to say the exact same thing. I was like, yeah, okay. So you're kicking me out of the group, huh? I'm not in the club anymore.
I don't want to be in that club.
Cool. Like there's something cool like that about me. And hence that's where, we got sort of labeled as the island of misfit toys, because the people that tend to flock towards us are the people that have that answer to that challenge, where they're like, oh, I'm getting kicked out, huh? Okay, cool.
Burn a much cooler
Right.
club.
And fundamentally, you said it so beautifully there. It's like when you go to the definition of that word, the actually origin of it from the Latin, it literally means a heretic is one who chooses. It's like, oh, you mean so if I choose to actually think for myself, I'm shameful. I'm kicked out of the club. I'm no longer welcome. I'm isolated.
I don't want to be in that damn club anyway.
And then you see this incredible resilience of the human soul and spirit come out when not only does the heretic kind of go cool, then the heretic goes out and goes cool and finds other people who say cool about getting kicked out of the club that they were supposed to be terrified of being kicked out of, and then they start their own club.
There's a lot of us. We're
a
not
lot
alone.
a lot more of us than people think. And
Right?
what's lovely about that is that on a daily basis for the past 20 years plus, we meet those people all the time. We see those people all the time. We get to engage with those people all the time. And what's so powerful about it is what keeps us motivated. It's like, hey, you know what? You know, you're supposed to be ashamed for using your brain and thinking for yourself. Not only are we not going to shame you for that here, we're going to welcome it,
Applaud you.
validate it, and applaud you.
Woo. So when we come back to anxiety, because here's the issue, right?
You might be making people actually with this,
When you
but it's good intent.
So if we come back to anxiety, a lot of the challenge with anxiety and anxiety over connection is that's, if I play devil's advocate, that's all well and good that people are thinking on their own and et cetera and et cetera. But then when you're met with, no, you're wrong, what do you do? And when you're met with, well, yeah, you're right, but actually it's more extreme than that, what do you do? Because either way, people a lot of times will then feel like, oh, well, I either have to agree to believe this more than I believe it or less than I believe it. And it destabilizes people, I think, with that anxiety around connection.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how that occurs to me comes in the form of another quote. And it's, I think, in a different context in the play that I'm thinking of. But the quote is, "Screw your courage to the sticking place and you shall not fail." And the idea of that is powerful to me and has stayed with me for my years in school and university and study and studying the great works of Shakespeare and other literature that is on offer for all of us to reach into that shows the best of humanity. I speak to that because it's a reminder of how important courage is and the role that courage plays in being able to stand up in this world after being labeled or treated like a heretic. And part of the reason why courage is so important is because it's the energy that we use to express all other virtues. It's the energy that says, you know what? There are some things more important than the threats of the physical world, like the truth, right? And not, and courage, truth in the presence of courage isn't the kind of truth that masquerades as capital T truth, like it knows everything with force and a desire to dominate. Truth that exists with courage is oftentimes that little T truth in the moment, which goes right back to, I have to make a choice. I have to choose to think for myself, speak and act from there, or deny what I feel and follow along. So we take that idea of courage and its value, and in the dojo and the martial arts, we say that courage is the most important virtue because without its presence, all the other virtues are diminished in their expression, like loyalty and love and faith and trust. Right? Without courage to speak and act on those things, then all of those other beautiful, powerful things about the human soul are weakened. So when we can actually embrace those two ideas, man, it's really important for me to pay attention to how I feel and then marry that to boy, there's value in expressing courage because it makes me feel worthy and dignified. And when I do it, I inspire others to feel worthy and dignified. We land in a place where we're not so afraid and anxious about thinking for ourselves. Because we know what we feel and we know what we stand for. We know what we want to share and we know what we want to believe. And then we're not afraid to take the risk of sharing that with other people who are willing to do that too. Because when people are sharing their true perspective, guess what? Our minds get changed. Our hearts get opened. Information that we didn't have before lands with us in a way that's inviting and inspiring. And without that courage, it's very, 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 very easy for someone else to come in and tell you how to think, what to feel, and when you're allowed to do either one of those.
And the reality is, we're not nearly as alone as we think.
Not even close.
Not
It's a big giant illusion.
right? I, by the way, want to say courage. Excellent topic for a future show.
Love that. Thank you. Note taken. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great topic.
Big one.
Love that topic.
Good one.
I am going to go back to devil's advocate though, because this is where
And I love that you do.
That's what we
I love
do.
that you do.
because one of the places, Dana's a mutant, is that even from, I mean, the stories I've heard about you when you were 3 is that you were going to listen to yourself and what felt true to you above anything else. Like that was more important to you than anything.
At 3?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more.
Well, and this
Can I
is
tell this? Can I
yeah. First, pick
Yes.
we can do a whole show on just this.
We gotta
we
hear
will.
this.
It'll be the courage show.
And
More detail.
the kind of funny story, even though it wasn't funny to his mother at the time, was that Dana's outside. He's 3. He's playing with his Tonka trucks, I think, and he had a system. He had things he had to build. I don't know, retaining walls. I don't know. There was something going on with Tonka trucks, and his mom came out and said, "Well, it's time to go to wash up, take your bath, and go to bed." And he said, "No, I have to finish." She said, "No, you have to. It's bedtime. You have to come in and do these things." And so his little 3-year-old heart went, "Well, I don't want to upset her, but this is true to me, so this is what I'm going to do." So he said, "Okay," came in, got washed up, got into bed, because that's what she asked him to do. She didn't say he had to go to sleep.
Stay in bed.
Closed the door, climbed out of the second-story window, thank you very much, hopped down, finished playing with his Tonka trucks, knocked on the front door again, at which point his poor mother had a conniption. So I do think that who you are naturally, I think courage and listening to yourself matters to you. Like you have that knowledge baked into who you are.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, which is amazing and it's inspiring and it's wonderful and I've learned so much from it.
Was it a retaining wall? What was it? I'm curious now.
I was like, no joke. I was setting up a little sand village for a bunch of real beings that I couldn't see, but I was told were there, and they needed a place to hang.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite stories ever on this show. That is great. At 3, screw you, Mom. But you did it, right? You followed. Okay, I did my thing. I went to bed. And then I also did my thing, went out and saved the beings.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I needed a place to live, and I was building it for them.
Right.
But that's where I think life is both easier and harder for you, and then both easier and harder for people who are not you.
I hallelujah to that. I get it.
You have that sense that I have to follow this compass. This is the only thing. This is where salvation lies. And I think for so many people, especially people who have been trained into anxiety or born into anxiety or inherited anxiety, they hear that and they go, "Oh, I want to be that person. I'm not going to be that person."
Well,
So, yeah, I think we need a gentler slope.
I appreciate that praise, and I'm aware of how quickly our time is gone, but this will be reason for people to tune in next week. When we do the courage,
And then I have a slope.
sure, for sure, when we do the courage show. But I can tell you honestly, and I would love to tell you the story when we have the time. It's arriving to us wrapping up soon. But part of the reason why I had that clarity, honestly, no jokes, is that near-death experience before I was 3 years old. And I shouldn't actually be here. I should have actually survived. And yet somehow I did. And
relate to that.
yeah, right? And and I can tell you everybody the whole story. I'd love to tell the whole story, but fundamentally, I was on a sled toboggan with my brother, and we were going up down the hill. And then he got tired and wanted to go inside. He had to go to the bathroom and get a drink. And then I was like, thought I could handle it by myself, and I slid underneath a running car at the bottom of the
God.
to the point where I have a little scar on my cheek that is the burn mark of where the exhaust pipe burnt my face. And and I should have died there because the car was running when I slid underneath it. And I have to say, and I am blessed with this experience, and I'm blessed with a mother who understood how to deal with a kid that climbed out second-story windows and insisted upon building his little village for the people that powers but bigger than him were telling him to build. But I stayed there still and calm, and I couldn't describe it as a kid. I probably can't even describe it now. But I knew that there was something that was going to get me out of that situation and keep me safe.
Wow.
And it was based upon me just staying still and calm and not panicking, because I'm like,
Interesting.
yeah, all of this is an illusion.
Right?
And I'm not really in any danger. Whether that's true or not, I certainly believe that it is, because I felt that truth for my entire life since that moment.
And we're still here. And
Yes,
still something
and I'm still here because I followed that truth, and a few other near-death experiences that I'd love to share with everyone if they're interested in hearing about them and what I've learned. And from that day that I jumped out the window and knocked on the door, and my mom kind of looked at me, and God bless her for being the kind of deeply feeling, intuitive person that she was. She just went, "Oh, you're one of those? Okay, all right, yeah."
That is good.
And I,
Very,
no matter what
very lucky.
ever went on, I never had to fight my mother to listen to me again.
Oh, that's beautiful. I never have.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why I know how blessed I was and am.
Wow. But this is the thing is that we are, as you said at the beginning, so powerful. I'm really excited about the Courage Show because
yeah,
you can't understand
awesome.
this stuff.
Yes.
I often did, enlightened warrior camps and all kinds of stuff for 20 years because it was one thing to say, another thing to experience and do.
Yes.
And when you're, face to face with like firewalking and you're building your fire first before you go in to do the seminar and the fire's like brazing off your eyebrows and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to walk through that. And then you learn about the energy and then you do, right? Repeatedly. It brings you to a whole new reality. So
truly,
this is why we're here. This is why I get so jazzed when we're talking. Courage is big. So let's get into that next time.
Absolutely.
Like it.
Love to.
And my very last 20 seconds comment to those people who are not ready to firewalk or be courageous about a second story window, which big fan, not encouraging second story window jumping. Is
That's a good disclaimer, like
the bunny slope version of courage and connection is tell me more. Right? Whether you're listening to yourself or whether you're talking to somebody else that you think is so diametrically opposed to you, is tell me more. Because it allows you a place and a space for connection. It allows you a space to build a little bit of courage to connect. You don't have to fight for what you think is right, but you get to still find out more about what's going on. You still get to be connected. And I think if we all used tell me more or tell me the best part of that, then at least we're going to start building those connections.
Yeah, in the presence of courage, a valuable truth is always available.
You know what? I love you guys. I love how it reins us in when we get
I know.
crazy.
Kind of wouldn't work well together.
I know. And oh my
And we
God,
love you too.
We love you. Oh my God. We're past the top. So let's add some time on do some wrap up and shameless self promotion. What have you got?
Yeah. So wherever you are with courage, Dana was the courageous at age 3, and I am the what? I'm supposed to be courageous. So we've got you wherever you are.
Got the whole spectrum.
We got the whole spectrum. And as part of that, our shameless self promotion is we really love getting people lots of information. And yes, we want to work with people. We want to work with people when they are at the right place to work with us. And we always want people to have things that they can play with and test drive. So we developed a test drive. We mentioned it last week. It is live, actually, for real. And if you go to the digitaldojo.net, there will be there are links on there to get to the Hypno-Somatic NAP audios, which we maybe should find a simpler way to say it.
Explain what it is.
And it's a way for people to get some of this work done, clear out some trauma from the past, get yourself moving forward without having to be hard work. I like hard work. It doesn't always have to be hard work. So this is literally hit play, listen to it, go to sleep. Or if you don't like having technology near your bed, sit on the sofa when you have 15 minutes and then 5 minutes to let it steep. Listen to it earlier in the day. And we're going through a lot of the big main traumas that people have inherited, that people have learned from each other. And there's 3 different topics on there, and everybody gets 3 nights of each topic for free. We're not asking for credit cards. There's no trick. It's not you have to listen to the next 17 seconds or it expires. It's just there's one there for cravings. There's one there for chronic pain. There's one there called Unweighting, which is for metabolism and body image. And if you go and sign up, you get all 9 nights or any ones you want. And one of the super cool things we're finding is that it makes sense to us with the work we do. When you clear trauma from somewhere, it impacts a lot of other places. So people will say, yeah, I listened to the pain audios, but now I'm more organized. What's with that? Or I listened to the unweighting ones for metabolism, and yeah, it's super cool. I have more energy. But also, I suddenly, one woman said to me, I don't understand what happened. I listened to these audios and my husband is less annoying. And I said, oh, that's amazing. Did he listen to the audios? And she went, no, just me. So when you clear things, there are beautiful benefits that you might not realize. So we would love for people to head on over to the digitaldojo.net and net, because I can speak English. And you can get those audios to lull you to sleep and get you some trauma clearance.
Super fast, the digitaldojo.net. All of our social media platforms are there and present. Also want to remind all News for the Soul listeners that we are offering a ton of free stuff, some pain stuff at different price points, and all News for the Soul listeners will get a 50% discount on those things for the balance of 2026, because we're going to fix it in 26. That's our contribution to doing so. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you come and see what our community has to offer and avail yourself of anything that feels interesting. Pay attention to how you feel. Listen to how you feel. Trust that you have courage. Trust that you can find it. Trust that you can act on it, and go forward. So we'd love to have you. We got a book coming out this year as well too. We'll keep you posted about all that. Courage show we're gonna do soon. Any more of the crazy stories? I got tons of them. Come on back, join us, be part of the community.